Let's go over reflection 2. I would like to go over reflection 2 with you because it is the most difficult reflection in the course. It's difficult because I'm asking you to use the materials in the lessons and use the discussion boards. By looking at all of that together, I'm asking you to fill in similarities and differences in relation to the social determinants of health. So in order to help you with this, I've started to fill in the chart with some ideas that you might find in your discussion boards. All of your answers will be different because each of your discussion boards has different comments in it. So for social context, we looked at 2 social determinants of health in this unit. We looked at social context in lessons 1 and 2, and we looked at access to quality health care in lessons 3 and 4. So let's look at social context first. In social context, what I'm asking you to do is to think about what you've read and look at the discussion posts from your group members and try to find similarities in the social context elements. So, for example, perhaps community engagement appears in posts about interpersonal violence and drug addiction, and you might say, community engagement in posts about IPV and drug addiction said, and you'll talk about what was similar and what they said about community engagement. Or maybe under similarities, racism is a social context element. Maybe there are several people who talk about how racism is a problem in treatment of whatever their condition is. So that would also be a similarity. Then for differences, I want you to look back at the material and the discussion posts and see if there's any differences that stand out. So for example, perhaps incarceration, there's some differences. Maybe women with specific conditions get much better treatment than women with other conditions. And so you would identify what those differences are and explain briefly using the material from lessons 1 and 2 and the discussion boards. The next element of the next social determinant of health that we talked about was access to care, access to quality health care. And again, I'm asking you to use your material in lessons 3 and 4 and look at your discussion board posts and try to find similarities and differences among the different topics that people are discussing. So again, I've put in some examples. So for access to care, similarities. For prevention, I have lack of access to care impacts poorer women and women of color more. And I give some examples, but then you would need a little more explanation here about what was similar. Another example I have for access to care and similarities is that Black women die more of cancer and heart disease because of whatever these 3 reasons are. So a similarity is that Black women die more of these diseases, but you'd need to explain why. What's in the discussion board and what was in the material you read that would cause that to happen. And again, here's an example of a difference that you might see in your discussion board. So insurance pays for screening for women more in these areas than in these areas. And again, that's going to come from your discussion board. So this is a very difficult reflection because I'm asking you to take all of the reading and materials that you used and review the discussion posts of the group members in your discussion board, and then look for similarities and differences in women's health for prevention and treatment. This is key because if we address the social determinants of health, we typically can address a lot of issues rather than just addressing one disease at a time. Hopefully this explanation helps you make sense of what I'm requesting of you in this reflection. If you have any questions, please make sure you reach out or send me an email so we can set up a time to talk. I look forward to reading your projects.